Next up, we have a panel. I would like to request Yash Prakash to be on the stage. The topic is when cyber meets AI securing the future together. May I request Hilal Ahmed Lone, CISO, Liminal Custody, Sanata Subramani, MD, Accenture Security, Accenture, and Dr. Vishal Saraswat, Head of Research and Innovation, Cybersecurity Practice, Bosch Global Software Technologies, to please welcome on stage. May I have a raise of hands?
All right. Uh, so, so we have been discussing a lot about the AI adoption, increased awareness of AI. I think one thing that I want to start off this panel discussion is how this particular shift of AI is significantly different from what we have seen in the past, right? We have gone through multiple technology shifts, whether it is cloud or SaaS, but this shift seems different. This is fast, this is furious, and also brings together a lot of new risks and even opportunities. So to uncover more of these opportunities, risks, and getting practical advice, we have a great panel who have come together here. And let me introduce the panel to begin with. On my, let me open this. To my left, we have Hilal, CISO at Liminal. He has been CISO at Dream11 and Razorpay, so he has been in this journey for a while. He is passionate about information security, sci-fi, and also gaming. So welcome, Hilal. All right, next to Hilal is Dr. Vishal Saraswat. He drives cybersecurity research and innovation at Bosch and heads the Bosch Cybersecurity University program. So Dr. Saraswat is a cryptographer specializing in anonymity and privacy in communication protocols and quantum safe communication. So a lot of technical depth that you bring here, Vishal, so welcome. Next is Santa. She is a managing director, global leader, a global delivery lead, and AI deployment leader for Accenture Security. Santa leads multiple service businesses and has held roles like the global head cybersecurity for TCS. So welcome, Santa. And finally, we have Archit. Archit brings a career in diverse industries like retail, staffing, e-commerce, security, and travel. Archit is a technology leader with experience in leading platform development, digital transformation, and information security for large enterprises. Welcome, Archit. All right, with the introductions aside, let's get started with some of the questions, and I'm excited to start with Santa for one of the first questions. All right. Apologies for that. Santa, let's get started.
Yep.
So from your perspective, we have spoken about AI adoption in enterprises today, and you have been in this industry and leading enterprise security for a while. So please share how enterprises are adopting AI security across industries.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Very nice to be here, first of all. Honored to be speaking here. AI and overall adoption of AI is not new. It is just that now we have got product innovation and technology innovation that helps us adopt faster. All industries are looking at it very seriously, but fundamentally for intelligence, innovation, and speed. I'll give you a couple of examples. In the previous waves of innovation, be it automation or cloud, the challenge is always the stickiness of legacy. The current wave of AI allows us to really remove the stickiness of legacy. We can build migration agents, we can build legacy modernization agents. So that takes away one of the biggest stumbling block for adoption of new technology. Okay, that is item number one. Item number two, it is able to give us multimodal, multi-dimensional intelligence across content, video, voice, data, and even quantum packets. such a wide-ranging capability coming from a single approach is rare. We have been at multiple inflection points, but this is rare. Therefore, the applicability is also wide-ranging. We can use it for content ingestion and content dissemination, intelligent data processing, actually deriving new investigation methodologies that a person may not be able to currently figure out. Replace a lot of manual effort from a fundamental processing perspective with agents, with very human in the middle being a very small proportion with a lot of confidence. Transparency and responsible AI is already embedded in the products. So all of these things enable us to use in many, many ways. The application has been in two phases. One, it has been used in the form of use cases, specific problems to be solved, or AI-led platforms itself. So one of the examples we see is obviously threat hunting and offensive security that got launched recently. Earlier, if we were using AI, we would have overlaid that on top of an existing product. Now the products come embedded with those capabilities, right? Second, in data processing, in all kinds of data processing, having data models complemented by workflows is a rarity. Earlier, data models used to exist separately. The workflows to orchestrate and use them used to exist separately. With an agenting approach, you are linking the data models with the MCP layer and an orchestration layer. So it's an end-to-end platform approach for using AI. Okay? So these things make applications very broad in every aspect of our business. Every aspect of our business can become AI-led unless it is regulatorily prohibited from doing so. If there is a human attribution required, that is the only place where it cannot be used. We need a human in the middle. Otherwise, every aspect is amenable to be used by AI, either as an assistant or as an action agent or as an advisory agent. Okay? And that's what we are seeing.
That's awesome. That's a lot of information to chew on. So we have seen, these use cases, but, let's go to Vishal. Are these, AI workloads that we are talking about are making its way from being experiments to, production workloads, right? Because that's what we keep hearing, that there is a lot of research, a lot of experimentation, but are they making it to production? So from your own experience, if you can talk about that, that would be great.
Yes, the shortest answer. Yes, they are making it to production, but they come with their own unique set of challenges, right? So, of course, when you start, you think, okay, AI is going to bring up my productivity by, let's say, 50%. But to get that AI implemented to your, as Shanta mentioned, our AI can be very useful in getting rid of legacy processes. But the legacy processes are so hard-grained, ingrained, and when you try to use AI to get rid of them, it's not so easy. Like when we wanted AI to, in our, especially like production systems, adapting the AI to use that legacy processes and then make it usable, make a new process that will work with our existing physical devices, physical systems. That the gap between the theory and actual implementation, that becomes very difficult. So we have to train the AI with a limited data set to work within these constraints. And that there the AI is so used to work on a huge amount of data to be useful. And this adaptation is very challenging. That in a very restrained manner you have to work. And that's what we are seeing across our plants, that what we had hoped to achieve within a year, I think we feel like we are still at 0 to 1 has not happened.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge. That's the key, the turning point that we need to see from being experiments to production.
And we hope that once we get to 0 to 1, and then 1 to 10 will be much faster.
Absolutely.
But that 0 to 1 is like really
Absolutely
challenging.
Absolutely. All right, thanks, Vishal. So moving on to Hilal. So Hilal, you have been CISO at multiple organizations. We have looked at AI for a while, and as you mentioned, some of the basic or fundamental risks that we have already tackled, or at least have awareness of, whether it is model manipulation, data leakage. But what are some of the not so obvious challenges or risks that you see coming up that is blindsided, right? So, people are blindsided to those risks that you are seeing, and how can organizations and enterprises and security practitioners can start thinking about them?
Yeah, I think, Yash, you mentioned that, okay, we have at least the awareness, or to some extent, we have addressed some of the basic risks associated with using AI, like data governance, data security, leakage, bias, and all that. Like, I mean, that's very obvious. And we sort of like think that also is given that these are going to be solved. Sooner or later, we are going to solve them. I think we are in the journey. It's going to be, we are going to reach there at some point. But I want to kind of like, one thing that really like always makes me uncomfortable or bugs me is that AI, particularly the generative AI, which is the content generation AI, so predictive AI and all those things, we have been using for decades. But the generative AI, or the basically like, I think we kind of feel it and we see it as something very disruptive, very shiny, appealing, and we believe that is that magic tool that will solve all our problems. I do believe that it has that disruptive influence on how we do things, both in professional, personal, industrial, economical, wherever you go, you have that influence. What I actually feel is very, it confuses me, is that people don't question the authenticity and basically the openness of basically the technology, given I think Pooja was earlier talking about, when she was talking about basically drug testing and all that, like it takes years and years for it to be certified and then brought into the market. And there's a reason to do that, because it has significant amount of impact on the daily lives of people, right? So it has the potential to save lives. It has the potential to basically like make a person dead also, right? So AI has similar kind of impact, because it can be disruptive on a level that can make or break economies, right? So given that it has so much impact, why we are not questioning the authenticity, why we are not questioning basically how this was actually trained, the amount of basically the data that goes into it, which we don't know the source, we also do not know whether that is synthetic data, whether that is organically collected data, we don't know. And we still believe it, like, yeah, it's going to do the best job, right? And that sounds insane to me. Think about, say, for example, I work in crypto industry. I have been developing crypto modules earlier. We cannot bring a crypto module into market until it is certified, it's verified by independent auditors, and the code itself, the model itself is made open source. We cannot bring it in the market. Imagine the kind of scrutiny that it has to go through to basically be certified, assured that it's going to work, because it has basically the potential to disrupt the business. It has the potential to basically make things obsolete. So that kind of technology, which has this kind of significant impact, should not be brought into market because it's shiny, it's useful. I don't think the AI models have gone through that kind of scrutiny. They have not been tested. They have not been questioned. There's no openness, which I find is incredibly sad. Think about it, right? So I do not want to kind of like name anybody, but think about, like, you are somebody who's like reading something on X, which is a Twitter platform. I don't have an account, but I heard stories. So I got hold of a story some time back. Like, there was some statistic that Elon Musk did not like, and he modified the model overnight. I mean, that should not happen. How can that happen? I mean, it's insane. So the risk is not just in terms of basically, okay, we are going to lose our data, we are going to lose our sanity, but it's also about basically like the scale of impact that it has is so significant that we are not necessarily prepared to question its basically veracity. So I think that's a big risk that we are actually ignoring. On top of that, if, for example, somebody wanted to basically contribute to make it better or basically like adopt it at a level that they feel can customize, that they need some flexibility in it, how many we have been done so far? I think the Manus was basically like open source by Chinese guys. But again, we don't trust the Chinese, so we are not going to work with them. So it's a very sad story. Like, so whoever has some positive intent does not actually get considered for it. So imagine the synthetic data that a model actually creates, that goes back into the training. So if that data was incorrect, so all the next generation of products will be incorrect, built on basically incorrect data. And that will get embedded within the business practices, within the social lives, everything. Or we're basically prepared to do that. Forget about basically like bias, forget about hallucination, forget prompt injection. We'll get there sometime. But these are some of the challenges that actually I don't feel like we are actually questioning enough. And the governance, the regulations that we actually do, we don't do that enough. I think high time we actually focus on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Hilal. So essentially going from being... Thank you. So going from being a probabilistic model that AI brings in versus a more deterministic model that we are all used to. So that's a transition that we are looking at. Now, Archit, moving over to you, I think what Santa spoke about, the different use cases. So from your point of view, which ones are sort of safe to move to production or to adopt versus the ones that we should say, we should think and pause based on risks that Hilal also highlighted? Which are the ones that we should pause, think, and then act?
Certainly, I think that's a great question, building on the context and the conversation, what we are having here. Before we talk about industrial use cases of AI, I think it is also important to understand that one important common denominator is data, right? And I think Hilal also mentioned about that how exactly that data is being prepared. Where exactly are you getting this data from? I mean, is this really organic data? Is this synthetic data? Also, I think from a data collection and aggregation perspective, we'll have to have a fine balance between what's possible and what's ethical. I think that has to be the foreground on which then we build AI use cases. And as an industry practitioner, now I'll build up on top of it some of the practical examples of what we do in terms of AI use cases at First Meridian, at my organization. I think this is something that Santa also brought up, that it is interesting to see how AI grew from being an assistant into a well-respected advisor today. And I was speaking to somebody outside the hall, and I said that while the journey has been interesting for AI from becoming an assistant to an advisor today, I think we're still decades away to see when it becomes the commander or the captain. Right? I think no doubt about the fact, from an industrial perspective, AI has been an assistant for a long time. From our industry perspective, if you look at it, we do trade marketing for more than 200 FMCG and consumer durable companies. Now, whatever trade marketing, and there's a heavy usage of graphics in trade marketing. What you see as standees and deployments across all your modern trade and general trade stores, all of that is generated via AI, right? You can imagine if a large consumer durable company comes to us and says that, hey, we want to launch a campaign in 200 cities, and this is how my kiosk or my deployment needs to look out. And this is being given to us at a short notice of, let's say, 5 days. AI certainly helps us does that. Moving on to the advisory role, definitely this involve high stakes, because when we do trade marketing and related businesses for FMCG and consumer durable companies, we understand and we collect a lot of data about consumption patterns. And that is where we can advise these companies that yes, this particular product category is going to perform in this particular fashion, in this season. This is how you should actually look at how do you deploy your inventory, what are some of the oncoming products that you should bring in, right? So I think those are advisory use cases. You can really have high fidelity sales forecast. From an information security and cyber security standpoint, I think today I would hardly imagine there are any SOC across industries and companies which do not leverage advices from AI, right? I mean, that's the whole point about you say that's AI-enabled SOC. It's not just to give you assistant, but also to amplify your abilities through advice. Finally, like I said, that my own personal doubts that how many decades we are far away where it takes the commandeering position, because it has to be contextually ethical and contextually accurate, right? It has to come from that angle that once AI comes in, and I think Hilal gave a very amazing example that, the Elon Musks of the world tweaking the models to, get the output or the inference as per their things. I think that's where it is important that there has to be very definitive boundaries around the contextual accuracy and contextual ethics for AI. That's when it takes a commandeering position in my mind.
Thanks, Archit. Now, from being or using AI in different use cases to actually looking at how to secure the AI, right? So, Santa, question to you is how do you see AI, the adoption of AI in the industry that we just spoke about, having an impact on the broader attack surface? Has it changed? Does it seismically different from what you have seen before before AI adoption? So give us your viewpoint, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. I believe the world is getting slowly split into AI literate and AI illiterate enterprises. There is a significant portion of enterprises who are slow to adopt. There is a vast number of enterprises who are really going at speed, despite all the concerns, really. When you look at it from that lens, the AI world is a mini example of the larger cybersecurity architecture. Whatever is true for the larger cybersecurity architecture is true for AI. So in the larger cybersecurity architecture, your attack surface is your endpoint, your identity, your data, your network, fundamentally, and maybe cloud, if you use it as an extension of storage. And your products that we use, which needs to be white labeled. All the 6 elements apply to your AI world as well. You need identity management for AI agents and models. We need data security, data encryption, and data access management. We need storage and learning data. And then we also, everything that is applicable to the larger surface is in the AI ecosystem as well. So it is that many times, as many agents you have that many times threat surface is increasing. Specific vulnerability management and tracking for that particular agent is required, depending on the LLM models that is using, okay? So the whole approach of how that needs to be done is still evolving, because once this agentic models extend to SaaS, then we have another problem. An agent from your own enterprise is going to talk to an agent that is provided by a SaaS provider. How do you even detect what is going on there? So your API security will evolve. So you have to look at it from the lens of translating every aspect of enterprise security into an AI world security. That's what we are seeing. It is an amplified vulnerability management and amplified risk management. On the upside, a lot of this responsibility will go into some of our product partners, and it will get enforced. And there will be a demand on transparency and submission of what those controls are from the users like ourselves. That is going to happen. So the onus of making it available, transparent, and verifiable will move more and more towards our product platform partners who are going to provide a lot of these details. Whether the Googles and the hyperscalers of the world will do that is a question. But that will be an ask because we are very much reliant on those resources to do a lot of these things. So for example, if I'm adopting, say, Anthropic Windsurf combination, I will demand from Windsurf, hey, the data I'm going to put is going to reside in, say, so-and-so data center, and you are going to assure me that my data is not going outside the models assigned to me to anybody else to learn. That is an assurance I will ask from Windsurf or whoever, right? And the Sonnet or anybody else has to assure me that the data they are using to develop base models is only from internet, and they're not going to use any patented data that anybody else has. So these kind of micro checking on how these are getting built and the transparency around it on an ongoing basis will become part of our regulatory environment. So the way we need to look at the threat surface is from multiple angles. Technical threat surface from an attack vector perspective, regulatory threat surface from a compliance and risk perspective, both will get married into an overall AI ecosystem management. That's what I foresee. It's going to get more and more complex. Nobody knows how to do it very well at this point.
No, absolutely,
At
absolutely.
least I don't know. I mean, I won't speak for everyone. At least I am figuring it out.
No, I think that's a beautiful answer. So thank you for that, Santa. I think Vishal, continuing with what Santa said about the regulatory aspects of it and even the technical controls, right? So being in an automotive sector which is highly regulated with especially software-driven automobiles that you assist building. I wanted to understand some of the changes in regulations, whether it is the EU AI Act that went into effect, I think, a couple of months back. There are other frameworks and other compliance requirements that are going to come thick and fast at us. So how do you address these? Have you been able to unlock or crack some of the things that Santa was referring to? And how do you innovate, right? So now you sort of see whether I should innovate or I should be more focused on ensuring that we are compliant. So how do you sort of balance the innovation with adhering to the regulations?
I guess we should let AI do that job. No, it's... well, yes, this, as Shanta already mentioned, things are becoming more and more complex. These regulations, they are there to demand us, and we have to comply with the regulations. Sometimes it's a headache, but they also make our lives easier, right? And so we are still in the study stage of these regulations. We are part of the draft stage for at least for the EU Act. Yes, now already we are, SBOM itself was the software bill of materials, that was already a headache. Then we got to, CBOM, the cybersecurity bill of materials. Now we have to take care of AI bomb. And it's not like that I am using the AI, and so I should create the bomb. Get the suppliers, and it's not going to be, especially for products like automotive and others, you don't have one single supplier. You don't have only Anthropic to deal with. You have to deal with every single supplier, and that is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So, and you have to ensure that everybody is following those acts. And that, just keeping track itself is a nightmare. And then doing the innovation. Now you want to do something different. You want to do something new. Of course, the innovator, they don't generally care about the compliance part. And the compliance guys, they don't care about the innovation part. Right? And both have completely different goals. And that, it's fun. It's fun. And leading the innovation practice at our cybersecurity practice, a lot of time goes into managing these two teams. So, no, I think I shouldn't give you an example here, maybe later.
Sounds good. Sounds good, Vishal. I mean, you're talking about bombs, so we are essentially looking at all the different bombs that we have to diffuse and manage. It looks like. So moving on to Hilal. Look, I think Santa mentioned and also Vishal mentioned about the regulatory requirements. I think many of the audience here would be interested in understanding what kind of due diligence you have to do as you bring on vendors with AI capabilities. There are suppliers with AI capabilities that you have to onboard. What kind of due diligence you have typically done? What kind of controls that you have put in place that you say are non-negotiable with those vendors?
Yeah, thank you. So, if anybody has done any kind of vendor risk management or third-party risk management, Vishal was talking about basically software bill of materials or cyber bill of materials, right? So it becomes very complicated very quickly, like because you are not just dealing with the partner, right? So you are dealing with a partner's partner. So it becomes like a hydra, right? So you cut off one head and then the other head actually emerges. And it's always difficult to say that, okay, that's my sweet spot when I think about actually onboarding a vendor. There's no sweet spot because you are always going to have this unknown. And most of the cybersecurity incidents that have happened because of third-party risk problems. So the due diligence that we have to do is not going to be anything different. It's just that, okay, you observe, you analyze what is your attack surface area, through what particular attack vectors can your partner expose you, what are the, basically like, all the synergies that you have with the partner. You have the basically data sharing, you do basically like vendor onboarding to your platforms, you do all of the different things. And you assume that I have done the basic due diligence in basically analyzing whether they are capable of handling incidents, whether they are able to basically report any incident to you, or are they going to be sufficiently capable of holding onto the contractual obligations that we have actually asserted with them. So we all do those due diligence. We think that, okay, this is going to be sufficient for us to basically move forward, but unfortunately that does not happen. So if that happened, then we would not have third-party risk. So in order for us to basically do at least the basics right, we have to completely basically look inwards rather than outwards. Because inwards is something that I can control. I know exactly what my risk is. I know exactly what I share with my partners. I know exactly through which channels they can interact with my platform. And if I'm able to basically like enforce those, if I'm able to basically identify and apply the necessary controls that are necessary, then your due diligence basically like stops at that. But unfortunately, like it's so that invisible factor is there. Like I said, there's going to be a hydra, there's going to be more than one head. So it's very difficult to basically get a handle on that. So, so yeah, I think it's much more about me than my partner to basically make sure that I do my due diligence.
Right. Thanks, Hilal. Appreciate that. Moving on to Archit, when it comes to being aware of the inward-looking approach that Hilal was talking about, what signals would you look for, right? So whether it is human-in-the-loop interactions that Santa was referring to, the tool innovations that your organizations would do, what would be the alerts that you are looking for that would identify, okay, there is some issue, and how do you react to that?
So I think in the interest of time, I'll quickly build up on what my fellow panelists said here. There are two dimensions to it. One is that I'll build up on what I said in my previous response. It directly stems out of what is the depth of AI that you are using truly. I mean, if you're obviously using it only as an assistant, then stakes are low. If you're using it as an advisor and more, definitely the stakes are high. Also, depends on the particular use case. Are you using it for maybe for certain predictive analytics? Are you using it for, like Hilal was talking about, the example of drug development? I mean, that's a serious thing. If you're using it for those kind of things, then definitely the stakes are high. The second dimension is, which Santa spoke of, that the technical fundamentals and your entire governance framework has to be the same. It basically, your cybersecurity framework, your technical framework just percolates as well to AI. You can't have a different thing. So the fundamental remains the same. That's where Hilal spoke of things like vendors, like your third-party risk assessment. So clearly, we all acknowledge the fact that in today's world, software supply chains are no more linear. And yes, it is important to understand to what degree your partner is using AI. What is that inherent AI risk that is now percolating in your system, right? So I think it is important that we model the threat well, right? So I think threat model is something which often people overlook. That is an important thing that we consider that now AI is also an important vector. And that's how I think we should address that. Talking about human in the loop, yes, like I said, if you actually have, like I said, typically talking from an AI-enabled SOC perspective, yes, you need to understand that what is that something that is directly coming from the system, what is that where you have human moderation available. I think it has to be a combination of that. That's my point on that. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Archit. Looks like we are running out of time, so I have to skip a couple of questions and go into a myth-busting lightning round. So I would ask all the panelists to share a myth that probably everybody thinks is real, but I would like each one of them to bust a myth and share anything funny or otherwise. Please share that with the audience. Hilal, maybe we start with you.
I think the myth around AI being the savior is actually a myth.
Or something that we have been using here, calling AI an advisor. And when we call somebody an advisor, we already say that that person must be an expert. And if the advisor is saying something, that must always be true. That must always be correct. So, yeah.
Even though it's called artificial intelligence, it is not born intelligent. We have to train it. It takes as much time to train an AI model as it takes a person, I think. That is a myth we need to be very much aware of. It's not born intelligent, of course not.
Since I represent the staffing and the people business, the myth, the long round talk about thing is that AI is going to take away jobs. We were very clear about that. People are not going to lose jobs to AI, but people who don't use AI are going to lose jobs to the ones who do.
All right, those are great mythbusters. So I wanted to also have question and answers, but because of the lack of time, we'll probably skip that. So we have heard some really good commentary and insights from all the panelists. Really appreciate everyone coming in and taking time and sharing your thoughts. So it's not just what we discovered is that the AI adoption is increasing with different use cases. We have to be looking both from securing an AI as well as using AI for security. So panelists, really thank you. The journey ahead is to collaborate. So please connect with the panelists offline. They should be available for having further discussions because what we did was scratching the surface, but there is more from our experts. So please do join and have questions offline. With that, I really appreciate everybody joining in, and thank you panelists once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would request everyone to stay on the stage for 1 minute. May I please request Seema to come on stage and felicitate the guests. Seema, get the picture. Thank you all. Thank you, Seema.